Welcome to the Corr Instruments CorrVisual F4.0.9 demonstration video. To start the software, the first thing we need to do is click on the CorrVisual F4.0.9 icon on the desktop. This will bring up the CorrVisual software and send us into the main menu of the software program. One of the first things we see here is this version selection drop-down menu. And you'll see that most of these buttons here are grayed out. So what we need to do first is select which version of the Corr hardware that we are currently using. In this demonstration video, we'll be using the smaller F2 version of the monitor. So we'll go ahead and select the F2 Corr version. Now this enables these buttons in the communication port subsection. What we see here is that under the port number, COM6 has been automatically selected. This is the USB port in which the connection cable between the communication cable that connects the software to the Corr is connected. If for some reason when we hit this check for connection button, if for some reason we don't get a connection, it may be that there's another COM port that's being occupied, so this may not be the correct selection. So you can hit the drop down menu and see if there's anything else here in this drop down menu, any other COM port, select it, go by trial by error to find out if that's the right COM port. And the other way to do it, of course, is to go through the device manager in Windows to determine which COM port is occupied with the USB to serial converter. But in this case, most of the time, the default selection is correct. So the baud rate for most systems is the default 115,200. I would not change this unless it's been specified by Corr Instruments that you have a different baud rate for your unit. So now that this has been settled, we'll go ahead and click on the Check for Connection and Memory button. So this will go ahead and establish a connection between the CorrVisual F software and the Corr. And as we can see here, we're getting outputs or messages from the Corr, so a connection has been established. Also, the keypad window is now available. The keypad window allows us to control the keypad of the Corr via the software remotely. In this case, we can go ahead and hit the Help button, and that will take us back to the main menu. So in the main menu, we of course have the three options for the F2 are the set date and time, sample rate and battery options, and modify probe. On YouTube, we have other videos that demonstrate the how to change the options on the Corr hardware. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we're going to go ahead and start our real-time data acquisition session. So we'll bring back up the main menu here. We'll go ahead and hit the Start button. And one of the first things that we're asked to do is go ahead and select a folder in which we wish to save the real-time data files. Most cases for Windows 7 and Windows 8, because of the access restrictions, a lot of cases you would need to select the username that you're currently logged into, and then save in the My Documents folder. You can create a subfolder in the My Documents folder. In this case, we're going to go ahead and create a folder for today's date. And we'll go ahead and hit OK. So now this folder has been created. You'll also notice here there's an auto measure on restart option. This auto measure on restart option is there such that if you have a power outage and you've selected the CorrVisual software to be started up with the Windows operating system, this can be selected actually through the Windows settings. But if you have this selected, then what happens is when the computer reboots, the CorrVisual software automatically starts up. And if this was selected during the last run, it will automatically send us back into measurements and continue to save the data in the folder that has been selected here, so there's no interruption in the data acquisition process. So we'll go ahead and hit that Start button, Start Data Acquisition. This will bring up a data window. We'll go ahead and make it full screen. This data window will be a data grid that will contain all the data that's being retrieved in real time from the Corr. And right now it's currently waiting for the first data point. So you'll see in the data window here the measurement started. It may wait for 30 seconds or longer if you have a battery option selected. So once we get the first data point, we can go ahead and click on the real-time plotting button. and that will give us the real-time plotting feature. If for some reason, like in this case, the header does not appear in the header file here or in the data file, it says header 1 or header 2 with nothing populated, we go ahead and hit the refresh button. Sometimes if we don't get the header file properly, we can go ahead and hit the refresh button, and that will give us the header file. Or if you're changing features in the NanoCorr as well, and you're staying in the same data window, you need to refresh the header, because in some cases, let's say we change the probe count or the probe amount, the data will be shifted, so the refresh button will refresh the header. So we'll go ahead and wait again for the next data point. Go ahead and minimize this windows. So this video concerns itself with only the data acquisition, real-time data acquisition. Subsequent videos we'll talk about how to download, how to erase memory, how to use the plot data, combine files, and reduce file size management tool. This tool is essentially there such that we can modify files that have already been saved on the hard drive of the PC. They don't require you to be connected to the NanoCorr. So in this case now the software has refreshed so that we now have a header file, as you see here. Corrosion rate max, corrosion rate average, temperature, pH, everything's populated. So we can go ahead and hit the real-time plotting button. Okay, so the plotting window pops up. It's going to wait for another data point before it'll plot the first data point here. Go ahead and make this full screen. Okay, so we now have a data point. One of the features of this plotting interface is you can scroll using the mouse wheel to zoom or zoom out. If you ever get lost or you can't find your data point, you can go ahead and right-click inside this plotting window and click Set Scale to Default, and that will reset the scale to default, or the axis to default. You can also draw a square around a data point. And then as well, we can also go ahead and click the show point, right-click and click the show point values, so that we can go ahead and just hover over the point value and show its current value. And modify plot button here will allow us to change what we're currently plotting. So right now we're plotting corrosion current. We can, for example, switch it to corrosion rate, or we can change it from logarithmic to linear. We can also come in here and change the units from micrometer per year to mil per year, for example. Hit OK. The other feature of the plotting mechanism is that we can also plot the individual currents from each electrode. We can either plot one current, we can highlight all the currents and plot them together, or we can hit Control and click on individual currents and offsets to plot at the same time. Once you're done with that, you hit Hide Pane and you can see your plot here. If you want to take a plot, save it, and put it into a report, you just right-click inside the plot and click the Save Image As button. Select a destination for that plot image. If you're changing from solution to solution, you can click the, or changing the conditions in your process, you can click the Add Remarks button and type a remark into the window here, and that will save that remark for that time point in the data file, so that you have a record of the changing conditions in your data file automatically. So I can go ahead and hit OK, and then we can show the data table, and it will show you here that at 1:20, 34 seconds we've put a remark into the data file. So that will be in the data file saved on the computer. So those are the basic features of the CorrVisual plotting interface. The sample interval, of course, that's left for each time period, or for each sample interval, is down here, and the amount of data that's been saved is down here as well. So to end this session, we'll go ahead and hit stop, get back to the data window, we'll hit back to main, come back to the main menu, and then we'll hit exit CorrVisual.